5 of the scariest true stories from this summer. There's something about summer that makes everything feel a little looser. People stay out later, windows stay open, road trips happen on impulse, campsites fill up, strangers cross paths more often. And sometimes that combination of freedom and heat leads to moments that stick with you long after the season ends. Tonight, I'm sharing 5 allegedly true stories that happened this summer. These were sent in over the past few months by people who say these events are recent, real, and still bothering them. As always, names and small details have been changed for privacy. Story 1. Aaron and his friends rented a lake house in early July. It was a last-minute trip. 4 guys in their mid-20s, just looking to get out of the city for a long weekend. The house sat on a quiet stretch of water in upstate New York, with only 2 neighboring properties visible from the dock. The first night was normal, swimming, grilling, music playing softly off someone's phone. From shore, Aaron noticed something odd from shore. Aaron noticed something odd. There was another canoe, just floating. No lantern, no visible movement. He assumed someone had drifted away from their dock and left it loose. But as they paddled closer, he realized it wasn't empty. There was someone sitting inside, facing away from them, completely still. Aaron called out, asking if they were okay. No response. They drifted closer. The person didn't turn around, didn't move. One of Aaron's friends nervously joked that maybe they were asleep. Aaron reached out with his paddle and lightly tapped the side of the canoe. The sound echoed across the lake. The person slowly stood up. But they didn't wobble, didn't shift weight, just rose to their feet with their backs still turned, and then stepped out of the canoe, into the water, without a splash. The canoe rocked violently, nearly tipping over. Aaron swears there was no sound of someone swimming away, no ripples, nothing. They panicked and paddled back to shore. The next morning, they scanned the lake in daylight. There was no canoe, no sign of anyone else camping nearby. Aaron says what unsettles him most is how shallow that part of the lake was, less than 5 feet deep. Story 2. Maya worked at a beachside ice cream shop in Florida this summer. Tourist season meant long lines and late closing times. One night in August, she was closing up around 11:45 p.m. when a man walked in just before she locked the doors. He looked sunburned, wore board shorts and flip-flops, seemed normal at first. He ordered a cone and paid in cash. While she was scooping, he asked if she walked home alone. Maya felt that familiar flicker of discomfort, but brushed it off. She told him she had a ride. He smiled and said, "Good, it's not safe out there this late." After he left, she finished closing and stepped outside. Her ride, her older brother, was running late. She stood by the door, scrolling on her phone. Then she noticed something. Across the street, near the dark edge of the boardwalk, the same man was standing, watching her, not on his phone, not pacing, just standing there. Maya stepped back inside and locked the door again. She waited. He didn't move. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Finally, her brother's car pulled up. The headlights lit up the street. The man was gone. The next day, Maya told her manager. Her manager went pale. She showed Maya a still image from the store's camera feed, taken 2 weeks earlier. It showed the same man standing outside the shop after closing at 2:17 a.m. The problem was that night the shop had closed at 9 p.m. No customers, no staff, just an empty storefront. Story 3. Eli and his girlfriend decided to go camping in late June at a national forest in Colorado. They picked a remote site that required a short hike from the parking area. The first day was peaceful. That night, around 2 a.m., Eli woke up to a crunching sound outside the tent. He assumed it was an animal. He nudged his girlfriend and whispered for her to stay still. The crunching continued, slow footsteps circling their tent, not sniffing, not rustling through trash, just circling. Eli grabbed his flashlight and unzipped the tent slightly. He shone the beam outward. The light caught something about 20 feet away. A pair of legs, bare legs, standing just beyond the trees. No upper body visible in the beam, just legs. Still. Eli's breath caught in his throat. He slowly angled the light upward. There was nothing there, no torso, no head, just empty darkness. He blinked and adjusted the beam again. This time there was no one there at all. The footsteps stopped. They didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, they checked the ground around their tent. There were footprints. Human. Barefoot. Story 4. Jasmine worked as a rideshare driver to earn extra money during summer break. One night around midnight, she picked up a passenger from a quiet residential street. The man got in the back seat without saying much. He gave her an address about 20 minutes away. The ride started normally. About 5 minutes in, Jasmine noticed something in the rearview mirror. The man wasn't looking at his phone. He was staring directly at her, unblinking. She smiled politely and focused on the road. A few minutes later, her GPS glitched. The route disappeared. The screen went blank. Her phone still had service, but the navigation app wouldn't load. The man leaned forward slightly. "You can turn left up here," he said softly. She didn't remember mentioning the route aloud. She ignored him and kept driving straight. He spoke again. "That's not the right way." Her chest tightened. She told him the GPS would reroute. He didn't respond. When she glanced back again, he was smiling, but his eyes weren't. She made a quick decision and pulled into a brightly lit gas station. She said she needed to check her phone. The moment she stopped, the man opened the door and stepped out. Address he had given didn't exist. And the address he had given didn't exist. And the account name attached to the ride? It was just a single letter. Story 5. Connor spent most of this summer jogging at a park near his apartment in the early mornings, around 5:30 a.m. before the heat set in. One morning in late August, a heavy mist hung over the park, not thick enough to block visibility completely, but enough to blur the edges of the trees. About halfway through his usual loop, Connor noticed someone running ahead of him. A tall figure in a dark hoodie. He didn't think much of it, until he realized something strange. No matter how fast he ran, the distance between them stayed the same, always about 30 feet ahead. He slowed down. The figure slowed too. He sped up. So did the figure. Connor's heart began to pound for reasons he couldn't explain. Finally, he stopped completely. The figure ahead stopped, too, without turning around. Connor felt a surge of panic and shouted, asking what the person's problem was. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it stepped off the path into the trees. Connor stood there for a long moment before cautiously jogging forward to where the figure had left the path. There were no footprints in the damp dirt, no broken branches, nothing, just trees. Connor hasn't jogged there since. Summer has a way of making everything feel open, inviting, alive. But sometimes the longer days and warmer nights just give whatever's out there more time to cross paths with you. And if you experience something strange this summer, something you can't quite explain, you're not alone. Sometimes the scariest moments aren't the ones that make headlines. They're the ones that happen quietly, when no one else is looking.